to be flat all the way until you get Suzuka. One of the more, God, there's no real meter boards here, but you want to, I think, roundabout. Welcome guys to my next installment of my track guide. This time we're going to be covering Suzuka. I'm going to take you around the lap slowly, covering all the details about how to be quick around this circuit, and then I'll show you a hot lap so that you can see how to tackle this circuit in real time. So without further ado, let's get straight into this track guide. Okay then guys, so coming up to the final corner here at Suzuka, when you're starting a lap, a little bit different as to when you're ending the lap. You want to make sure that you're coming off of this corner a little bit wider so you can get on the throttle just a little bit sooner, but you do want to be very smooth with your throttle inputs here, mainly because you're gonna get a lot of wheel spin coming out of this corner, and it's so easy to spin out of the final corner. Luckily, the bump that was there a couple of years ago is no longer there, but still very easy to spin. Open up DRS, and then obviously you're starting a lap here at Suzuka. Now the first corner is very different compared to most first corners around Formula 1 tracks. It's a double apex approach, and you're going to be taking this car flat very deep into the corner. So just before you get to this grey patch is where you want to start turning in. You're going to continue to be flat all the way until you get around about halfway through the red and white curb. This is where you start braking, and you want to be super smooth with your braking. You don't want to just jam on it like how you normally would going into a slow speed corner, because you have to carry a lot of speed around here. So make sure you're lighter on the brakes, around about 50 or 60% I think, and then down into fifth gear. You wanna get as close to or right over this this curbing if possible, and then this is where you want to place the car. This is the most important part of the corner, the exit. You want to be as close to this red and white curb as possible, or else the more wide you are, then the later you have to get on the throttle and the more time you're gonna lose. So you want to be as close to this red and white curbing here as possible. Get your foot on the throttle, and then you want to use the maximum amount of track that you can without breaking limits. So it's around about what? So it's around about. Okay. Around about here is how much you can use, and then come off of the curbing straight away. Place your car on the right hand side. You guys should know by now, if you've played for a couple of years, that Suzuka, one of the more difficult tracks, especially the first sector. So going into it, sixth gear, you want to hit the curbing just before you get to this green patch here, and then you want to carry the speed through. Engine braking for this next one, so you want to downshift into fifth gear, carry as much speed as you possibly can right over this curb. Now if coming out of this corner, if you find yourself around about here next to this curbing here, this is a bit too tight. You want to be more, say, towards the middle of the track, not necessarily at the middle, but right about here, so that you can carry a lot more speed and keep your foot on the throttle more around this next corner here. So this next corner, keep your foot around, keep your foot on the throttle. You're not completely flat, but you do want to be at least, probably about 60-70% on the throttle at this point, and then stay in fifth. Keep the car in fifth even for this corner. Lift off. I do believe in my lap, which isn't the best lap personally, I think I do hit the brakes a little bit here. You want to, in qualifying, you want to just carry as much speed as possible, so you don't really want to be on the brakes throughout this corner. Just let the car roll through this corner. In the race, you're probably going to have to use the brakes just for the amount of fuel that you're going to have, so the car's going to be a lot more understeery, and then you're going to be around about the middle of the track. You want to try and just turn in towards the right here, not fully to the right, but then you want to bring the car back sixth gear around this corner, just so that you can take it with a bit more speed, and then just follow the darkened patch on the road here, really, to be honest. And once you get to this corner here, this is the end of sector 1, just before you get to the 50 meter board. I believe you'll be in 7th gear coming into it. You just want to flick the car into this corner. In the race, you probably might want to downshift, I'm not entirely sure, or you could probably stay in the same gear, to be honest, but you want to flick the car in 7th gear. You've done it right when you hit this green patch here. That's where you want to hit, boom, and then you're gonna find yourself right around about here. You want to brake, God, there's no real meter boards here, but you want to brake around about here. This is where you want to start braking. You want to brake a little bit earlier than you would expect in this year's game, just so that you can get that traction, because you can't use as much curb on the exit as you could on F1 2021, so you have to account for that by braking slightly earlier. Down into 4th gear, you miss this curbing here, and as I said, on the exit on F1 2021 you can use a lot more curbing here. On this year's game, it's very easy to bottom out or to have a lot of wheel spin here, so you end up spinning. So the best course of method here is just to simply make sure that you're getting the traction on the tarmac. And then for this next corner now, very tricky hairpin, but very simple once you've practiced it. Just after the red and white curbing here, you want to brake in a straight line. from 7th gear down into 3rd gear, and then you want to use the banking of this corner to carry as much speed around it as possible. Make sure by the time you get to the apex that you're pretty much already on the throttle a little bit there, and then again just get traction as best as you can off the curbing. And then this corner here, it's not really a corner because it's completely flat out. For the next braking zone, we've got this one just after the 50-meter board in 7th gear, or no, sorry, in 8th gear, down into 6th gear. Don't touch this red and white curbing, but get as close to it as you possibly can. Get back on the throttle. You're going to find yourself around about here, and then I think around about here is where you want to start braking. So just as you're getting just as the Rolex sign is starting to get towards the left hand side of your screen, that's when you want to start you know, slight brake or even just a slight lift. Downshift into 5th gear if you want that engine braking, and then just carry the speed through. Try and get on the throttle early because it's very important. You've got a long straight here, so you want to be on the throttle as quickly as you can. And then for this one, you should just stay left and then bring the car over to the right for 130R. 130R is completely flat, even in a race. It's not even a corner these days. And then for the final braking zone, just before the 100-meter board here, so right around about here, you want to start braking down into 4th gear. Very easy to lock up the rears going into this corner. I've done it plenty of times. Make sure you ride over this curb here, then you ride over this curb in qualifying, and even in the race actually. And then you don't want to be getting traction on this curb. You want to be on the tarmac here. Make sure that the car is pointing straight. It's a very weird traction zone for this one because again with the wheel spin, so you want to be as straight as possible, and then as soon as you feel as if you've got the traction, that's when you can start turning. At the end of qualifying, you want to stay as tight as possible, least road traveled, open up DRS, and that is a lap around Suzuka. So what I'm going to do now is show you guys the hot lap. It's not the best hot lap. I'm actually pretty disappointed with this one, but it should be good enough to show you how to tackle this circuit.